Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about how to guess the zodiac sign Virgo, and yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, the first thing I want to get at is as far as guessing the zodiac sign Virgo, but as far as the appearance goes, you have to factor in ethnicity and race into the equation, of course, because let's say if somebody is Asian or African American, some of this may not apply and pertain to them. And also, keep in mind, let's say you try to guess someone's sign and you say it's Virgo and they have a different sun sign. Well, that doesn't mean that you didn't guess the moon sign or the ascendant, perhaps, because in many cases you may wind up guessing their ascendant or moon sign. And so anyway, first thing about Virgo, as far as guessing the zodiac sign Virgo based on appearance, well, Virgos generally are about of middle stature, medium height or average height. They tend to have an ovalish or roundish type head. The trunk, it tends to be a little bit shorter than the limbs. The limbs are a little bit longer on average in relationship to the rest of the body. As far as anything else with their appearance, well, the eyes can often be deep set, and the features tend to be small and diminutive. And the mouth is often well formed, but with a rather thin upper lip, and the lower lip can be a little bit bigger. It might appear to be a little bit protruding because the upper lip can be rather thin. The nose tends to be straight. And the forehead tends to be large with high in terms of being high. Virgos often have high foreheads. And being an earth sign, of course, the hands can be squarish. Now, I know when you're trying to guess someone's zodiac sign, you're generally not going to be scrutinizing at their hands and trying to analyze it, do the Virgo analysis thing. But just in case, I figure I'll let you know that. And often they have a very meticulous look, and they often have a very preppy, like a button-up type look to them. And they are very often neat and very clean, and they can have a very youthful type countenance. Virgos generally will not show their age in their appearance. They often look younger than their years. And also about the appearance, I want to get back to the hair. The hair could be rather sparse. Virgos generally do not have, their hair is generally not profuse. And really, Virgo is kind of like, in many ways, like the antithesis of Leo, because Leo often has this tremendous presence, and they often will have an appearance like their clothing can be somewhat flamboyant and designed to attract attention, but Virgo can really be pretty much the opposite this way. Virgo can be ultra conservative because Virgos are often very shy, and they don't really like to wear a lot of loud clothing or something flashy that will attract attention, because they're generally a lot more introverted in contrast to Leo. So a thing is, as far as identifying Virgo by anything, any mannerisms or behavior, well, thing about Virgo that stands out really to me is the fact they could be rather nervous and fidgety. It's a little bit different than Gemini. Gemini is very similar. Gemini can be kind of restless in terms of staying still for that long. They have a hard time sitting down in one spot for any protracted period. But with Virgo might stay in the same spot for a prolonged period, and whether they're talking or to you or whatever they're doing, conversing or whatever, but they often have this knack to be fidgeting with an object, or they'll take their hand, or they'll brush their hair a certain way, or if they're sweating, they got to touch their forehead. What it is with Virgo is, I think Virgo tends to be doing things like that they have a hard time really. They'll be touching something because, but especially something connected with them. For that reason, because they're very worrisome, and I think they're very overconscious regarding their appearance and what they look like, and they are really that. I think a lot of that is attributed to them. Virgo also just very they have a real strong proclivity to be worrying. They can really be very anxious and nervous people, and sometimes if they're in company with Virgo and they have a little kind of a doubtful, pensive, or apprehensive look, it's generally not going to be because of anything you did. It's just a lot of times it's in their nature. They tend to have a lot. They may often have a lot on their mind, and I think that's what a lot of that is. And also, Virgo is another way to guess the zodiac sign Virgo by something they may do. Virgos, when they walk, I've noticed, they kind of have a bounce walk to them. And I don't know exactly why that is, but I've just noticed that with them. They kind of have a little spring in their step, so to speak, when they walk. That's another thing. Another thing, too, of course, is the Virgo propensity for criticism, and generally it's not malicious, but they really have a tendency to criticize, I think, a little bit more than they need to, and much more than the average sign will do. And they also, I mean, they may see something on, for example, on the floor. They're in your home, and they might pick something up, or they'll say, well, what's that spot on those curtains? And then they'll look from a distance, because a lot of times Virgos, they have that uncanny ability for tremendous observation skills. They often will spot things that others are oblivious to, and they may see something. For example, they could be sitting down on a couch, and they could be looking at a pretty good distance and say, well, what's that mark on that curtain? Is that because it's worn, or is that dirty handprints or something? And they say it, what happens is they're saying it in a way where they might not think that they're being abrasive or they're being rude, but it can come across to others that way sometimes. Virgos, I mean, if they're getting something to drink, I mean, often they're very precise with what they want, and a lot of times the Virgos can be the kind of person that may use everything but a measuring cup when they're getting something as far as eating or drinking, because they're very precise with things. They're the ones that will say something like, oh, the alignment on the car was off by half a degree from one day to the next. Oh, what am I going to do? My body mass index was off by this such small percentage from one day to the next, and they might actually worry more about that, but they're the ones that will bring something like that up, and they may even say something about you connected with something like that, because Virgos are the ones that will talk to you about things that others might just say that might be insignificant, and they'll make maybe a little more of a bigger production of it, so to speak, than the average person. Or they could say something like, oh, wow, the fuel, the compression ratio on my vehicle was slightly different than what it was the day before, and it might be a very microscopic difference, but they might be the ones to kind of worry about it. And if you're doing something wrong, a Virgo will often correct you just out of constructive criticism. If you're talking over them, for example, they may say something. So that's why I think a lot of times, not a lot of times, astrologically, I mean, not a lot of times, I mean, period. Gemini and Virgo are not compatible. I should say they are not compatible by sign. Gemini can have the propensity to talk over someone, and Virgo obviously will not like that, because they're about everybody being proper and scrupulous. So, and one last thing about Virgo is the fact that, well, they often can be, they're fastidious. Another way of guessing the zodiac sign Virgo, they could be very persnickety and fastidious about little minor things and details. Basically, as I was using those examples, citing examples before. And another thing, too, is they could be, Virgos could be very verbose and articulate, but a lot of times they may use more words than necessary to explain something, or they're using maybe a higher diction sometimes than what's needed in order to say something. And Really, and that's pretty much what I'm getting at as far as how to guess the zodiac sign Virgo. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment on how to guess the zodiac sign Virgo, and stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about how to guess the zodiac sign Libra. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.